Hello, hello. I think you can hear me, right? Just let me know if you can hear me or not. Like just kind of like testing this my setup. 1 second. Let me actually close the window for. Hopefully, more quiet. Awesome. For some reason that I cannot see the comments from. Just 1 second. Let me just this. I guess I will have to open a separate window to the video so that I can see your comments. Give me 1 more second. Okay, comments are coming. Awesome. All right, thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Linton Yi, and I am a developer, and sometimes I pretend to be a designer actually. So I like design, and I've been teaching React for a couple of years, like since 2017, and I wanted to actually let me actually show you the screen. 1 second. Okay, so this is what I do for like do most of the time. So creating a course for designers that's about front end development a little bit. And this particular presentation, this particular workshop, is actually part of the new course that I am developing, which is called the React Mental Models. And the idea for that is to basically it's not just another tutorials or anything. So the idea is to really help you to think in terms of React, and so that you not only can follow all the tutorials or the examples, but also you can actually create your own project, like work on any kind of project, as long as you have a solid understanding of what's going on in React. So this is a course that I am preparing, and this webinar is actually kind of like the last kind of sum up of all the stuff that's in the course, and talking about the topic a bit like a more advanced topic, so that how would we want to organize our code. And I am going to start this. Don't forget that to stick until the end. I have some little, like a Easter egg or surprise to share with you. It will be at the end of the talk, and it'll be maybe 1.5 an hour, maybe shorter than that. So I will try to actually make it shorter than that, so that we can have our best of use of our time. Okay, so this is about React component architecture, right? And I am gonna try to address some of these questions, or maybe all of them, and maybe at the end of the talk, you tell me if I have actually answered these questions or not. And there's something that I'm not gonna cover in this webinar. So third-party libraries are not generally not really the core of React, so that I will not really touch it. But what I'm gonna cover is gonna be a foundation of understanding all of those other third-party libraries. I think it'll be useful for you later on if you want to pick up if you want to use some other libraries, and you will have a good base. And for the example of today, it's going to be mostly React, like vanilla React and vanilla CSS. And now actually we have a kind of question like what actually makes a good component architecture. And there are actually a lot of principles and standards. What I found most useful, or maybe like it's been talked about the most, is those two principles: separation of concerns and single responsibility. Those are like kind of two very abstract words. We'll see what that means. Like, I think everybody has some understanding of those two principles. And the point of this presentation is that show you some of the strategies that I personally use, and the workflow and tips that may or may not be helpful for you. But I guess at least I think if at the end of this presentation, and if I could get you to think about those, like what kind of strategy that you want to use, or what kind of workflow that actually I want to use, and I think that will be, I will be satisfied with the result. Okay, now let me actually show you the project that I'm going to build. Is this one. It's like GitHub jobs. Like, it's using a third-party API from GitHub, and it's gonna get a list of real data there, and in terms of like cards, and you can actually search on it. Let's say when you type and you get search suggestions, and we choose one, and it's gonna populate the list accordingly. It's pretty simple actually. And when you click on one of the items, and it's gonna go to the details page, which is gonna have all the details there. And I'm actually not gonna talk about how to do those layouts or stuff. It's really out of the scope for this presentation. And but it's gonna be more about how do we come up with those components that actually make up this user interface, and also the functionalities under the hood. Okay, and this actually comes from this awesome website I've just seen recently, Dev Challenges. It has a lot of other challenges. I recommend you to check it out if you don't know yet. And it's got a lot of projects to build, and I think it's a pretty good community, and there are quite a few people actually working on different apps. I think this one is the one that I basically used exactly the same design, except that I didn't do this responsive design part. And you can find my code here. I am going to paste it into the chat. This is the code, and this is the design. Okay, so that's what we are gonna build, and let's get started. Right, let's get started. As I said, I'm gonna use a framework called Next.js, which is pretty awesome, and you'll see I really like its it's pretty simple, so you can build up some stuff very quickly. And let's go to this console, and just type npx create next app, maybe GitHub jobs, GitHub jobs. And once we type that, it's going to grab that that binary this script to create a project for us. And for this particular example, I'm gonna use these examples from the Next.js repo, and I'm gonna pick a template which is called Storybook, like with Storybook, right? So the last one is the one that I'm going to use, and it's gonna go ahead and download files and create all the project structure or whatever. But actually, I'm not gonna use it for this demo, because it will be very boring to see me typing all the details, all the stuff, and making all the typos here. So I'm gonna, like, for a lot of time, I'll just use existing repo that as I just posted in the comment, and to save us some time. Okay. But I promise this is exactly the same. Like at this master branch, it's exactly the same as what we would get after doing this create next app. Okay. Now, right. So this is the project. This is the initial project that we create from that template, the Storybook template. And if you check out its directory structure, it's got a few things, and these are more of a like configuration stuff. But this is a component, and it's got a React file, and the pages is next specific stuff, right? So if you put a React file right here, and it's gonna render as a page. Right now, it only has an index.js file, because that's how we get this the root of this whole project, right? And of course, if you add we're gonna add add one more page right here a bit later, but let's leave with that for now. And also this stories, this is coming from Storybook, which is a very useful UI development or design tool, and I'm gonna talk about it briefly as well. And again, this presentation is not about the full functionality of Next.js or Storybook, and but the idea is that how in my experience, how I use it in my workflow, and I hope you find it useful as well. All right, so these are the directories, and let me actually get that page right here. Yeah, maybe let's just look at this guy. And I wanted to think about, and maybe tell me in a comment, what is your first step when you're given this design, and when you are about to create a project, like you want to build this app and this user interface. What is your first step? Like how would you go about creating it in the first place? Just like if you have some ideas and suggestions, put it in the comment, and I will show you my way. Okay. So we have this design. We have it's got some search box here, some folder here, this is a list of result, and okay, and let's actually run it, right? Let's run it. npm dev, which is the dev server of Next.js, so that it's gonna start serving the on this port, and that's how we see it here. Yeah, thanks Alexander and Marcy. Yeah, make the basic grid layout and start with some basic components, and we'll figure out the grid. Great. coming up here. And let's actually go to the slide, and I think, yeah, definitely correctly, the first step when we look at this design, we're gonna think about its layout, right? How are we gonna build this, like very like basically we can actually look at those in like three parts. That's my kind of like division of the, like a decomposition of the UI, and we can have those three components, and we can use whatever CSS to lay them out. But actually, the detail of the layout, maybe it'll come after, right? But like at very least, the conceptual level, that we have kind of three parts of this UI, right? So in that we can make three components, right? Let's do that. Let's make those three components. Let's say the whole thing, we're gonna call it job list. And it's gonna be function job list, and it's gonna have maybe a div that include a header. Filters, and what is that, like results, right? Those three components, and in turn we're gonna just make even like more components right here, header, and it's gonna return. For now, let's just put a string there, right? Let's call it just header, and copy those three things a few times, and folders, results. Now I'm gonna save it, right? It's supposed to be faster. I don't know why it's refreshing, but the idea is that we're gonna just make a very, very bare bone version of our component, and why it's not working? Okay, it's coming up, but oh, sorry. Actually, sorry about that. I made a mistake. This is not supposed to be in this component file. So I'm actually working on this file. This is the wrong file. Let's revert it, and that's the benefit of using Git here, so that I can just get rid of this and go back. And actually, what I am going to work on is this pages index file, and I'm gonna paste in whatever I have typed there, and that'll look better. Okay. Yeah, that's what I expect to see. So this is a very bare bone, like without any detail of a layout or anything. This is just a kind of concept, right? We'll have three things over here on the page, and it maps directly as what we have seen in this design. Okay. Now, notice that let me grab the stuff there. Grab my branch, create, a new terminal here, and then the first branch. save myself from some typing here. And it basically only populate this one with some more like this header with the form and also this filters with some HTML elements right here. And what we get is right. It's what we can see on the right. And of course, these are not beautiful. These are not really what we want to see as the final design. But the idea is that whenever we make change right here in those components, and we want to make it immediately, seeable on the preview. Okay, and also right now. Because this file is getting longer, right? It's getting longer and longer. It's probably time to kind of split it up into a different file. So let's just convert this job list file into a new file. We can just select all the functions that we want and right click, and there is a refactor. I really like this this functionality right here. It just goes to a different file, and of course we don't want to call it the header, right? We want to rename it to I just pressed F2 here, which is the shortcut for renaming, and we can rename it to job list. Okay, everything is good, and let's just save the file, and it still works as expected right here, right? And now, because this job list file, we don't really want a path right here like a job list, right? So if we put like I said, if I put a React file in this pages directory, it's gonna render as it's gonna be available as a path in Next.js. So we don't want to do that. This is just a whole bunch of components that's made available for us to use in the pages file. So we can just grab it and move it over to the components, and it's gonna automatically, I think, what is that? Always automatically update imports, and it's gonna update imports as well, so that everything will still work well, right? So now we have this index, and which uses job list file, and the job list defines a few components right here. Okay, now let's look at a little bit of a summary or recap right here. I often got this question, like when we start a project, we don't have a clear plan, where to go and what kind of components that we want to use, in our projects, and but actually, what about this? You don't really need a clear plan before starting a project, right? And moving forward and start programming right off the bat is actually way more important than having a very super clear plan up front. So, and also having to change the structure all the time is totally fine, right? Let's just let the code evolve, and let's always be refactoring our code whenever we have some moment. I think this is a kind of a approach that I use when I write the code, and I don't really have a super clear picture in the beginning when seeing a design. So I just keep doing it, keep punching at it until it actually looks good, right? Of course, along the way we're gonna use some principles and determine when and how are we gonna make the code better, right? So that's what I mentioned, just like the two principles over here in the front. Like, one is the separation of concern. You want to keep different things separate, right? If you have one component and you have another component, and conceptually those two components must do kind of different kind of work. And of course, this is kind of like judgment call. It'll become easier when you have more experience of it. But I think the general approach like this mindset is more important than, you don't be afraid that you don't really have a good understanding of the best structure that your project is going to be, right? Just start simple, right? Start with, a static file, like a single file, like I mentioned. We just do a single file, and also we always be refactoring along the way. And I like this kind of analogy is that like when we want to climb a mountain, and although like the straight line path is the shortest path, like from the bottom of the mountain to the top of the mountain, but that's not a really easy way to go, right? We instead we take stairs, right? And that's how we make progress. I think not only in programming but in like pretty much every like a lot of things that we can adopt this approach. And also the second strategy or approach is that we want to see fast feedback, right? We don't want to wait until we have all the components figured out before before checking out the preview of the page. And that's where those like modern development tool offers, like whenever we save the file, we can see the result, and we as developers, and we want to take advantage of that as well. And when the example is that over here, even before this, I have this like a return filter, just return a string or whatever. As long as we have something running, we save the file and we can see the result in the preview. Okay. And also the editor will help as well. Whenever we write something, like if it's for example, I'm sure you are familiar with this. If we make mistake, we see those errors, and also what I found particularly useful is that like when I type those tags or whatever things, and I will keep them unformatted. Like when I save it, if our code is correct, it's gonna be automatically formatted. Like right now, I have got some error here, and it's not formatted. But as long as we fix those, and it's gonna automatically format it. Like for that is also like a kind of a fast feedback that we can take advantage of to make our whole process easier. Okay, so that is this one. Now let's look at this result, right? And this result right now is empty. It's just a placeholder here. And it's gonna be a bunch of let's say, one second. Let me check on my notes and. Okay. If we look at our design, we see those repeating things, right? Like this car and this car, they are pretty much the same, and that's easily a very like good indication of a component that we can use. So again, we're still working on this single. Sorry, what's going on here? We're working in this single file job list, but we keep adding components right here, and let's say job car, and again, I will make something, just make a div there, job car, and that's just like a placeholder as we have for other things, and now for this we want to have some like mock locations, right? We're gonna have those mock locations, and maybe I will actually just check out that things. Mock location, sorry, not location, positions, mock positions, and this is something that we are going to import right here. And maybe we'll grab file. The file's not here. Actually, let me just check out that branch again. Okay, that will make it. After that, I will explain the code. Okay, this is the second branch, which is called job card. Okay. So I imported a mock position JSON file, which is actually a big array of objects that I downloaded from the API, and then what's going on? Sorry, I don't know what's going on here. Okay, I wanted to fold this. Okay, so imported this mock positions, and now this job card. I have some more details right here, and this result, and then over here we can see actually there's a lot of stuff right here. Okay. This is a list of things. And that's a job card. And the next step is actually we need to kind of go ahead to style it so that it won't look this ugly, and to make it to match what we have right here in the design. And again, I said I'm not gonna focus on the styling part of it, but let me just check out that branch, which is called 3 styles. And it'll look better, slightly better. Yeah, I think I need to restart this. Oh, that's nice. Okay. That looks better. What this new branch adds is this like this file, this app./app file, which applies to all the all the pages that we have in this pages directory. And also I added a single styles.css file. That's how I style the project. It's not really the best way to style this project, but to make things simple, I put everything into just this single CSS file, and that's how we get the layout here. And all the things are actually done by this CSS file, all the layout. But I want to say that in the process of creating this project is that for now, we only focus on the static layout of it, right? We are not concerned about how how this search box works, how those filters work, and all the other interactions. We don't care about it yet, right? And this is also about that first strategy. We want to start simple. We start with a static mock, and that's why we actually import a static JSON file, and then put it inside this result. Okay. Yeah, put it over here so that like everything is static for now. There's no state, there's no state management or anything, or no API call. Everything is static. Okay, so I think then the next step is to actually fetch data from API. Okay, that's how we make things a bit more realistic, right? Now, instead of this, we want to actually fetch it. we of course like you know how we're gonna fetch data. It the usual way if it's this like, you know, put a state there, set jobs, and use state, right? And then with a use effect, and then we can actually fetch data inside this use effect, right? And if you're not familiar with this process, if you can check out the documentation of React or my previous videos about these. But we're gonna fetch data there, right? But you know, in light of the notion of the principle of separation of concern, right? This is a kind of something fairly new from what we have like in this layout, and this is some kind of like logic, right? It's a stateful logic. It is something. It is a good candidate for us to actually extract it into a custom hook. So we can use this, use jobs, right? And we can actually write this custom hook that use state, you know, use state. I'm not gonna type the whole thing, and use effect to actually fetch the data, right? And let me actually cheat again. Go to I don't have sorry, use jobs, check out this file. Yeah, I forgot to sorry. Okay, so that is the full implementation of our use jobs hook. It's a custom hook, and it's for us to kind of like encapsulate our stateful logic. And the benefit of that is this component looks pretty clean, right? So we only see this, and we're gonna use jobs to extract to get the data. Well, however the way that we're gonna use it. Like later on, you can see like I have another example to convert this code into React query, into using React query, and you can see like we can keep pretty much most of the code unchanged, and then we only need to change the code for this use jobs. But I'll show a bit later if we have time. But the idea here is, again, we use a custom hook to encapsulate our stateful logic and put it here. And for now, we just put everything into one file. I don't have really a problem with it, and as long as it's manageable. And of course, you can extract it out if you want, but let's just leave it as is for now. And now let's go ahead to make this search form work. This guy, and right now it doesn't do anything, and let's make that work. Okay. Now, but I want to ask you a question again. And you know, if you look at our job list component right here, right, and we collect the data in this header component, which presumably includes this search form and also the filters. But the result we need to have it in this results component, right? So right here, results component. How do we get the data, get the user input from this component? How do we get it out and put it into this results component? If you still remember the session, or my session about data flow, is that we want to kind of lift the state, right? We want to move, like this is actually the state. We want to move it up level, like move it up one level to this job list, and then let the data flow down. So we're gonna collect the data in this header component, and then we're gonna somehow feed the data to this component, right? Let me see if I actually want to. So let me actually do some typing here. So the idea here is that you know, we're gonna have maybe let's say the keyword here, which is what the user is going to type right here in the input. The keyword, and that's state. And with that, we're gonna just one second. Oh yeah. So we're gonna need to find a way to extract the keyword, from this header component, right? So the idea is that we're gonna use like a kind of callback here, right? Maybe let's say on search term confirmed or whatever, and then maybe it's called keyword, and then so if this is a keyword, and then we're gonna set the keyword like that, okay? And then with this keyword, we are going to be able to get the jobs right here, jobs, from using this use jobs custom hook, right? And then we give it a parameter keyword. I think it's called keyword or search. I forgot what. I think maybe it's anyway. I'll check out the code later on, but of course this is not going to work. But the idea is that we use this keyword and to call this custom hook, and then we can get the data. And line number 108, we can just pass this jobs object to the results component as a product. Okay. So there are a couple of things that I want you to notice. So first of all, this just one second, let me check out the yeah. So what I want to see is here, this header component, that it has a input here, right? But actually, if you check out the final result here, right here, it's got a lot of actually kind of stuff going on. It's not just putting some stuff here, and then you just press return, right? When I type something here, it's gonna pull up this suggestion, right? And when it's loading, it's actually displayed the 3 dots, and there's a lot of stuff here, a lot of stuff going on. And over here is that like I've made a decision is that for all of those the suggestions, or maybe with or without suggestions, or maybe just a loading message, or like what kind of intermediate text that I type, I made a decision that these are kind of like internal state of this component, not necessarily related to whatever we display as a result, or not even this filter right here, right? So it'll become it'll affect the global result over here only if the user press return or press this search button, right? Only that. So this gives us a kind of notion of what kind of where the state should live, right? So my experience is that we want to make it close to where it's used, like we have here, and this is like more of a UI state. So we want to put this all of the other state inside the component instead of putting it in this job list component, and we definitely can do that. But it'll be way more manageable if we just make those as kind of something internal in this header component. And we don't need to care about it. Like what we care is only, whatever the keyword that has been confirmed by the user by either press a return or search, or maybe select an item in the suggestion list, right? Okay, and also, like for something that is truly external, we want to make it global state that corresponds to what we see over here, maybe this jobs, like because it's coming from an API, like from outside of the application, and that we can see it as like kind of like move it into more of a global level, which is this job list container, not inside this result component, for example. Okay, let me. What time is it? We just half of the time. Okay, let me speed up a little bit, and again, I'll check out the next. Go this U jobs keywords. Keyword. Okay. Keep making the same mistake. Okay, now you see this code has already been modified so that yeah, this is exactly the same as we had before, and the header has an on keyword change, and I think it'll actually work. Let's see if it works. Press return, or let's try something else. Yeah, it actually works. So the search result is filtered by this keyword, and how it works is in this I think I added a keyword, the parameter in this custom hook. But again, the point here is that in this header component, and it includes the internal state, this term, right? It's bind on this input, and this is actually a controlled component with value binded to in term. But whatever it is, and these are internal state of this header. It's not about the rest of the app. And what makes it external to other component is that on this on submit, we're gonna call this on keyword change, and that we will see it over here in this job list component. Okay, now I don't know about you, but I tend to have butterfly in my stomach right here when I see this code. Header on keyword change. Why is the header supposed to have this prop, right? So I think this is one of the things that you want to keep doing whenever you're doing coding. Like throughout the process, you want to take a pause. Like after you implement something, I want to take a pause and look at your code. And does this, ask yourself, does this code actually make sense to you, right? So a header, why does a header care about a keyword or whatever? It doesn't seem to correct, right? And it turns out that if we check out the code for this header, is that these are displaying this label, the title here. These are probably header, part of header, and the hero image, and that's probably part of the header. But this form, I'm not sure it really belongs to a header, right? And also, it actually violates one of the principles that I just mentioned. Do you know which one is it? It's this one, like it's this one, right? Single responsibility principle. So this header is not just doing the work of a header that's displaying some image, a title here, or maybe some menu like navigation stuff there. It also has this search term, which will affect the state of the whole application, and this is something that we want to avoid. And this is indication when we might want to extract another component right here, right? So for this form, we want to extract it into its separate component. Okay, let's call it a search form, and I'm gonna write that search form here. And I'm gonna return the text right here, and we can now move this term, the state, into the search form, right? That looks much better. And we will perhaps have this on keyword change on the search form, so that it'll work, I think. Again, like when you make some change and save it, if it formats, and that means at least syntactically your code is okay, right? And now you can actually pass on this on keyword change to the search form, right? Let's see if it actually works. That still works. That means our refactoring is done properly. And but is that good enough? One second, let me. Yeah, is that good enough? It's probably not good enough, because we still have this problem, like a header 124, line 124, we still have this prop, right? How do we solve that? How do we make it the header is actually a better header, like actually only doing its own thing, not caring about too much stuff, right? And let me check out the code again. Search form. Okay, our search form is still the search form. Okay, we didn't change it, and the change here is that okay, so header, it includes some children, right? You can put whatever children there, but header component does not really care. And what we have here, line number 129, is that we put this search form as a child of this header component, so that we can have this. Like, I think this is a much better design compared to what we had, right? And I think there is one question about context. We could use context, but in this case, I think this is cleaner. I think the issue that we've seen before, that like we have a header and we have a prop, and pass this prop into the header component, and then in turn pass that unchanged pass that prop to the search form component. That prop, like that is called prop drilling, because header doesn't really use that prop, and you just pass down the prop. One solution is to use context, but I think in this case it's better to just use this one. Like they call it, they said it's like composition, right? So component composition. because context can, like, we should really sparsely use context, because of the it has some performance issues. Like, if, like, it also kind of like pollute our component design, because that'll make our component depend on those contexts. Making components more coupled is, like, we should always like try our best to avoid that, right? So make the components individual pieces that don't know too much about each other. So that's the solution here. Okay, and now this is search form, and the next step is to, okay, this next step, right now, when we make a change here, you don't see it until it actually refresh. It doesn't refresh at all, or maybe they'll do PHP. Yeah, so it takes a bit while. Like, this is definitely not the best user experience. How do we fix that, right? How do we fix that? And if you check out our custom hook right here, use jobs, and the return value, it actually returns is loading, and that's how we can use it to display a loading message for this this view, right? So for this result, and let's say over here for this result, maybe we can just pass. We can just use this, like, is loading, and then we can just pass this prop to the results. It's loading, and then we can use it here. Actually, this is another kind of tip that I want to share with you, is that whenever you write a component or trying to figure out its prop, always just start with how it's used. So we have this result, and although this is not implemented yet, we pretend that it's already implemented and it's right here, and then we come back and try and fix it in the implementation. And this works a lot better than trying to think of, like, looking at this component, what kind of app props I need here, and this is a lot harder in my experience. Okay, so I will actually skip quite a bit right here. Maybe I just put it's loading here, and for now, I will just use is loading. If it's loading, and just put a text right here, it's slightly better than what we have, I think. Yeah, loading. So let's try it again. Have a loading text. That's slightly better, right? But we want to make it better, right? We want to make it better by adding some kind of more polished loading state. For example, like, this is what I want to implement. When I press look at just focus on this part, the list, and it's gonna display some header, some kind of like placeholder. That'll make it look much nicer, right? Okay, for that, let's use Storybook. Let's Storybook, npm Storybook, and it's gonna start that server. And of course, we can just implement there and test it in the live application. But Storybook turns out to be a much better tool for this task, because it allows us to test this component in isolation, and it allows us to kind of individually see the state, each state of our component. Basically, we can take an interactive component, and we can actually spread it out. For each of the state, we have some individual stuff that we can see. You'll see very quickly. And right now, these are just some kind of example there. But let me again check out the result. 7 loading. Okay. Where is our result component? Okay, this is the result component, and you can see like ignore the top two, but the third one is the story that I added. And you see, this is a loading state, and when we are actually making changes to it, we can actually see it. So the benefit of that, we can, let's say we are actually in the process of building this loading cards component, and this is like in this result. When it is loading, it's going to show this loading card component, right? And let's say if we want to make a change. How maybe we want, for now it displays 5 cards, maybe we only want to display 2 cards, and then you should be able to see the result right here. The point is that we can just use Storybook for development. I think that there are many other use cases for Storybook, but this one is the one that I found most useful in the like when we're actually starting a new project, when we're building a project like this, right? So we can test out all its different state. Like this is empty state, maybe that's not really good, right? And we can make it line number 46. We can say if the job is empty, and at least we want to display some text, right? And then otherwise we want to do that, and as long as we have that, we can see its empty state, and of course we can make it fancier, right? We can make it fancy, and this is with data state, right? And what makes these possible is this stories file, like over here, where is it? Like stories directory. And we can make a new file here, results. This is a new file that I made, and I actually moved the mock position file to the stories because it's kind of useful to use a mock position inside our stories. And over here we can see we have 3 things: loading, empty, with data. They're exported as a function, and they're actually React components as well. So for each one, we can use different props on our result component, so that we can see different aspects of it. Like we can see different state in each individual component, in each individual storybook. Maybe I'll call it a page on the storybook, right? So that is very, very useful. And after that, after we confirm that all the states look exactly as what we wanted, and then we can move back to our live application and to verify it's actually worked. Like I mean it's gonna work, right? So the loading state, see again the loading state, and it's looking much better than before. Okay, the empty result here, and by now, if we look at our directory structure, we have this component, right? We probably have this this job list right here, right? Okay, job list results, and I would say maybe the naming of our components are probably not super great. What's going on? And we'll see if we can actually improve that, right? So again, this like name stuff is an important factor that you want to consider when you're coding. Like pick the correct name. Like always check your code. Always take a pause and look at your code and see if it makes sense. That includes the two principles that I mentioned: separation of concerns and single responsibility principle, and also this naming. You want to have all the names make sense, right? For now, maybe we call it the whole thing because it includes a keyword and afterwards, like maybe in the filters as well. Maybe let's just call it something different. Let's call it filterable job list to make it a little bit more accurate, right? So we can use F2, and then we want to actually change the name of those files as well. And this file, we want to rename it to filterable job list, and it will save everything. And that's the renaming part. And again, we save the file to see the result, and if there's an error, we want to kind of immediately fix that before it accumulates. And also for this results, we probably will want to rename it as well. What about just rename it to job list? Okay, job list, and this component to be job list as well. Okay, and it works, right? And now we have two components right here, right? And this has a few things like job card. Depending on the complexity of those components, right? We want to make it move it into a new file or not. But for now, maybe it's pretty simple. Let's just keep it into this file. In this file, we don't need to kind of move all the components into its separate file. That's totally not necessary, I think. Just put things that are related together. That's generally a good rule of thumb. All right, so now let me see how much time do I still have. 20 minutes. Okay. Now let's keep going, and still we want to make a search suggestions for this search form, right? And let me actually check out the new code. What's going on? Okay. 1 second. I'm just trying to grab the text right here so that I don't have to type all the things there. Okay, so this branch. Okay. Job list, filterable job list, and this search form is right here, and I think it kind of works. Does it work? Oh, it's not working yet. But the idea is that like this search form, now we're moving on to actually build the search form to add the search suggestion, right? And like I mentioned, it's got a lot of state. It's got a lot of things going on, and of course we can build it. We can build it and test it and preview it right inside our live application. But a better way is what? Is this, right? Storybook, right? We can use Storybook to kind of spread out all its states and build it individually, and that's how we're gonna do it, right? So let me check out a new branch. Now let me know if this like checking out branch approach is good or not. Like, does it actually confuse you or not? I'm not really sure. This is the first time that I'm doing this, but okay. Usually I will just type out all the code, but this project includes a lot of code. Now I have kind of moved this search form into its separate file because it sort of gets complicated, right? And also that will make our lives easier when we want to kind of build it in isolation. So I wrote a search form stories in the stories folder, and it's got some stuff there, right? And I'll show you the result first. Search form. See, so for each of the state, actually, no, for this example, I actually decided to move everything into a single component here. So I call it them like static states right here. This is there's no suggestion for this component, and it has some suggestions, and you can test those things. And this is the loading state, right? And to make these happen, what we need is to extract this search form static component. Yeah, I am actually not sure whether we should call it static, but for now, this is the best name that I came up with. Is that like they're just it doesn't have any interaction at all. It's just a static picture, right? Just static picture, and we can configure this static picture, static component with different props, right? So if there's no suggestion, we have that. Like if there has some suggestion, if it's loading, and we use those different props to configure those components so that we can make changes. Like if we want to change the padding, or if you want to change the color of the selection, we can do so in CSS and see them. We don't just do it. Maybe like that. See, this is a search form. Maybe the suggestion. Where is the suggestion? Yeah. So. Yeah, maybe let's just change the hover color, and so that we can see it, right? So this is just simulating the actual process of building this component, but as I mentioned, this is very useful, and I want to show you the actually search form component, right? And this is a static component. I call it static component, and it's only concerned about how things actually look, right? So it doesn't really have any state or anything, and this is the actual search form that is being used in this component. So this one is the one that we are using in the job list component, and it has all the states, and this one, like search suggestions, similar to that jobs. It's custom hook as well. Of course, this is a kind of like a faked API, but the idea is that we can actually have this component to provide the suggestion. So this search form component has all the states, make things interesting, and pass along all the props that's needed to this static component, right, to make it work. All right, so such suggestions. And I don't know if you are familiar with this container presentational components, or like it was previously referred to as like dumb or smart components or whatever. And the idea is that the container components is more about the behavior. The presentational component is more about how things look. This pattern is actually very, very popular with by like if you use Redux a lot, and it's basically all over there, right? But if you check out this idea was made popular by Dan Abramov, but if you check out his his famous blog post, he actually put a notice there. He no longer thinks that this is a good idea because of the hooks, right? Hooks is supposed to encapsulate all the stateful logic. So no, this container or presentational component, this separation seems to be very arbitrary. Because we already have a good way of separating the stateful logic, with the presentation logic. Why do we need this arbitrary separation of those components, right? Why do I do this? I actually I've read his post a few times. So why should I do this? So this is actually one of the third strategy that I wanted to share with you is that you want to always think about ask why I'm doing this, or why do we have those kind of best practices, or why do we follow this pattern, right? And of course, you want to think in first principles. That in our case, the so-called first principle is those maybe separation of concerns, or a single responsibility principle, or other kind of basic principles in terms of a software development, right? So this is React. This is software development. This is not really too special, right? So the reasoning that I have here, why I think it makes sense in this case, is because I have a purpose for this surge static component. The purpose is that so that I can very conveniently easily use it in Storybook, so that it'll speed up my work, my development work, making all of those complex states, making them work quickly. So as long as it serves as a purpose, I think it's fair to just use this pattern, right? Just don't kind of blindly follow this pattern. I've seen code base that kind of without any purpose, just separate things into container and presentation or whatever. But think about when you are about to make a decision, think about why. I think this is a very important lesson to me. When I used to be like that as well, reading all the articles about best practices and patterns, and this is kind of popular keyword to search. But I think what I want to share with you is that when you do something, anything, including moving things into a new file or whatever, you want to think about why you want to do that. Okay. Cool. I think we have 10 minutes or so. I think we have time to finish everything. Now, what I want to do is this jobs detail. When I click on it, I want to move on to a new page, and this is slightly, this is about about Next.js. Let me directly check out that file. It's checking out. Okay. Yeah. I should have used my usual environment. This is actually works a lot slower than what I'm used to. But okay, this I think it'll work. How do apply? Okay, it'll work. Sort of works. Maybe I should have. Yeah, let me go all the way to the end. Because that'll be much easier to. this should works better. Okay, that's what I want to show. This is the final result. It's already a final result, and making a new page in Next.js is very interesting actually. So first of all, like I said, I can make a React file over here, and it's gonna be like if we have another React file, maybe just make a copy. Let's just call it copy, and then we're gonna have a copy here, which is exactly the same because it's copy. But there's another thing called dynamic route, which is very interesting over here. Is that we have the jobs, and with this square bracket in the file name, and it'll make it. Next.js will make it dynamic. What does it mean is that when I click that, you see the URL. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, that's better. So URL, it has a jobs, and then a bunch of ID there, a bunch of a string there. So that's made possible with this dynamic ID, like a square in the file name. And you can extract that ID with this custom hook. Use router, and then you can extract it from the query, and then you can use it to populate the job details component. Okay. Also, this is just kind of Next.js stuff, and we can also, I think this is more of a dynamic code, and you can also generate static pages as well, but I'm not going to talk about it here. But that makes Next really unique, and you can do both, standard or maybe more like an express stuff, but you can also do static page generation, like what Gatsby does. Okay. So you have pages, and things are like here. And if we look at our component structure here, now we have a few files, right? Without telling you, because I just check out the files. But now it's looking more like slightly more like a complete, fully fledged app, right? So for this index page, we use this filterable job list, and this use a few other files or hooks from other files, but these structure are not enforced. I think these are I tend to call it it actually naturally evolves from what I need. It's not from the very beginning we kind of have a full picture of what are supposed to be there. That's not gonna work. So this approach, I find it a lot more pragmatic and a lot more useful, a lot faster as well, right? And hooks are extracted into its separate file, and we have two hooks here. And when this list of files gets longer and longer, we probably want to think about maybe organize it into folders, but we don't rush to do it, because every time when we add those layers, it comes with a cost. So if we add a separate directory, although this editor can do a lot of the stuff for us, but sometimes it cannot. The thing is, whenever you use jobs component, when you actually use job hook, when you use it, you will need to worry about one, basically, you need to use a lot of a level here, dot. Yeah, this is definitely not looking great if things are more complete, more complex than actually needed, right? So that is this point, and yeah, and then we actually go to the kind of last part. Like, I don't know how many of these questions that you consider that have provided good answer, but let me know in the comment. If you are still not clear about some of these questions or maybe other questions that you have in mind, let me know and I'll try to explain. And like kind of as a recap, we have 3 strategies. Start simple, and we want to get fast feedback as we are making progress in our development. And we always want to ask why. Don't just blindly follow whoever say that, right? You don't want to blindly follow their advice. You want to think about why do you want that, and does this actually apply to your code base or not? Does this solve the real problem in your code or not? And of course, as I said, this is for now. This is just a kind of bare bone application. This is more realistic than my previous examples, but it's not a real project. And the first thing is that styling is not the best way to do it. For now, like I include everything as a global style, a global CSS file, which like as a project evolves, and we're gonna hit problem like name clashes or whatever. So we want to use other approaches that are kind of standard in the industry, like all of those things. And also, we probably don't want to start from scratch about these components. Like for now, I just use very basic, like bare bone HTML elements. We probably want to start with some kind of like component libraries or even a design system, and that'll save us a lot of work actually. But for the sake of simplicity for this presentation, I just made it. I just use a standard one. And also, sometimes when, like for now, we don't have a lot of a global state, a lot of stuff going on here. But as it gets more completed, maybe at some point, we need to add those state management libraries, Redux, Mobix, or maybe XState. That's excellent for handling complex state transitions. But again, these are a lot of stuff to learn as well. And finally, this like React Query and SWR, they're kind of like new stuff in the community, I guess. And a lot of people saying that they actually use server-side caching in place of Redux, and they just remove a lot of Redux code to just use React Query to cache the data, like because a lot of the time the reason we use Redux is to cache the global state. So why don't we actually just invent a library to just handle that server state caching, and actually have a branch of that, which I promise that I'm gonna show you. Discard. Yeah. Discard all changes. I'm so dumb that I didn't use this one. Anyway, so this is use React Query, and well, actually, I need to show you the effect, the preview of the like before effect, so that you can tell the difference. So if you look at the right, if I search something, I press and I get this is a loading state, right? When I escape and remove it, I get this loading state as well. But if I use React Query, it'll cache the result fast. So now if it's loading, and then if I do Java and it's loading, but if I blank it out, it doesn't reload from the network at all. Even if I do Java and it doesn't reload, it just instantly loaded from memory, and that's a pretty nice improvement in our code. And the interesting thing is that with the component structure that we have here, we don't need to change much. The only thing that I need to change is this use jobs hook. I replace it with whatever needed by this React query, and the rest of the code it'll just work, because that's really the power of this custom hook abstraction, and it makes things a lot easier, basically. So use it here, right? Cool. So that's pretty much what I have, and I promise that I'm gonna have I have a Easter egg or surprise for you. This is actually nothing to do with this program, and I don't know if you have heard of this, like Open API. OpenAI, they have an API, let me make things bigger. You probably have already saw some examples in the in Twitter. So basically, you can ask it a question, and it'll answer you, right? That's what it does. Yeah, it'll answer you, or you can ask it to summarize some text. That, right? But that's not what I want to show you. What I want to show you is this. Get rid of everything. Import React from. I'm typing code here, right? And guess what's gonna happen here? Let's say job list. Let's write a component. Okay, let's stop there and press submit. Oh, that's too much, I think. Let's see what it's gonna give. Yeah, it'll basically write code for us, which means I don't know if maybe it's I don't know how you feel about this. Let's try search form, and I think when I try that, it kind of works if I say term, set term, use state, and return. Let's see what's it. Oh, it's not working anymore. Yeah, weird. Anyway, but let's say that's this. It stopped working. But last time when I tried it, it actually completes this form for me, and it even use the input, and set value equals term. It actually completes this for me, but for some reason it didn't work anymore. But that's what I want to show you. All right. Cool. Yeah, that's what I have today. Let me know what you think about this presentation. I hope you find it useful. And if you have ideas, what else I can do in the future, just let me know and send me an email or just put it in a comment. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time. Well, actually, I forgot to ask if you have any questions. So I guess I don't see much other questions. A tutorial on Storybook. Okay, cool. Yeah, keep the suggestions going, and I'll see what I can do for you. All right. Thank you. Have a great one.